Podcast.
Hey, it's Scott Beebe, and welcome into the Business on Purpose platform. It's time to be liberated from the chaos of working in your business. One of the tools that we've got coming up for you, if you go to bopwebinar.com, and we've got a powerful webinar coming up in the next couple of weeks at the time of this recording called How to Stop Putting Out Fires. We're going to dive deep into building systems and processes for the business so it will help you be liberated from the chaos of working in your business in order for you to be able to work on your business. I want to talk about a challenging topic. At the time of this recording, it's June 1, 2020. And all you have to do is look back in history and you'll see what's been going on in the last few months, and especially within the last few days with the merging of COVID-19, but also race riots happening in the United States with young men being killed by some other powerful figures. And so we'll talk about that for just a minute. You know, there's power in a name, especially in a time when there's a vacancy or a vacuum of leadership. Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Martin Luther King Jr. Yesterday, there was a story that I learned of that I didn't recognize the name. The name was Robert Gould Shaw. There's an entire section of Washington, D.C. actually named in his honor. The Shaw District of Washington is a historically black neighborhood, and yet Shaw, ironically, was a white man. Colonel Robert Gould Shaw was a 24-year-old commanding officer of the all-black 54th Massachusetts Regiment, same regiment that two of Frederick Douglass's sons volunteered to fight with. Shaw trained his men with diligence and wrote this note to his father regarding the men. He said, "Everything goes on prosperously. They learn all the details of guard duty and camp service infinitely more readily than most of the others that I have had under my command. There is not the least doubt that we will leave the state with as good a regiment as any that has ever marched." Obviously, the 54th Regiment was a historic regiment because it was an all-black regiment. On May 28, 1863, the 54th sailed from the docks of Boston to join their Union counterparts on the Port Royal Island in South Carolina. From where I sit right now, it's just 12 miles up the road. Shaw led his men up and down the South Carolina and Georgia coastlines before they were dispatched to Charleston, South Carolina, to join Union forces in an attempt to take the Confederate stronghold. Shaw died early in the attack, shot in the chest multiple times, and it was custom to return the bodies of Union officers who had died. But turning from custom, the Confederate General Johnson Haygood explained his rationale for leaving Shaw's body in the mass grave alongside his devoted black soldiers. He, Shaw, had been in command of white troops, Haygood had said, and this was the rationale, that typically they would have returned Shaw's body, as was customary, but instead chose to bury it alongside the fallen black soldiers. Frank Shaw, Colonel Shaw's father, was asked if he would prefer to have his son's body to be returned to the Union. Frank Shaw responded, "We would not have his body removed from where it lies, surrounded by his brave and devoted soldiers. We can imagine no holier place than that in which he lies, among his brave and devoted followers, nor wish for him better company. What a bodyguard he has." Leadership requires a stockpile of sharpened tools, sobriety, bravery, wisdom, slowness, diligence, and intelligence, just to name a few. Popularity, on the other hand, requires a well-researched soundbite repeated over and over with a loud bullhorn. Shaw was not popular. He was mocked. But Shaw was a leader, brave, pioneering, diligent, orderly, with a vision of the future. I saw a leader yesterday in front of thousands tuning in virtually, and that leader took the position of humility. The leader got on his knees. Bravery, pioneering, diligent, orderly. See, leaders fan the flame of justice, mercy, vision, discretion, sobriety, humility, and wisdom words. Popularity contestants fan the flame of drama, erraticism, jealousy, pettiness, and cheap shots. Popularity contestants bully. Leaders are slow to speak and quick to listen. Popularity contestants are slow to listen and quick to speak. There are so many changes that we have got to own, that I have to own in the wake of a turbulent 2020. Among them must be the sharpening and restoration of our leadership tools. American novelist Jodi Picoult famously said, "When you only have a hammer, everything looks like a nail." Leadership tools are diverse. We should have many sharpened, ready at the side leadership tools. Here are 4 that I've seen that we've got to reinvest in based on what we've seen in the last few days, weeks, and months. First, the leadership tool of wisdom words. See, words are not enough, but wisdom words have been delivered through the thoughtful pen of your own experience and also the well-worn tread of the lives of other women and men who have lived prior to and longer than you. Proverbs are statements of general truth, wisdom words. And so to begin sharpening the tool of wisdom words, we can simply begin with the Jewish Proverbs. The purpose of these wisdom treasures is projected in the opening lines when it says this, to receive instruction in wise dealing and righteousness, justice, and equity, to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. Let the wise hear and increase in their learning. That's the opening instruction of the Jewish proverb. It literally is telling you this is why these proverbs exist. Recently, this was written in the context of a global authority figure who spends more time on popularity contesting than he or she does on leadership. And this is what was said. They have no literary, spiritual, or historical resources to draw upon in a crisis. The great historical leaders were educated under a curriculum that put character formation at the absolute center of education. They were trained by people who assumed that life would throw up hard and unexpected tests. And it was the job of a school, as one headmaster put it, to produce young people who would be, get this quote, acceptable at a dance, but invaluable in a shipwreck. Acceptable at a dance, but invaluable at a shipwreck. The second tool to sharpen is the sharpening of the tool of the reckoning with our own emotion. History has shown that previously abused people can overcome the power of emotional pathways and lead differently than their abusers. In most cases, these leaders have done the hard labor of bursting through the concrete of that rough emotional foundation. The willingness to dig into our own faultiness in order to create a new strength. The second tool we've got to sharpen is the reckoning of our own internal emotion. The third of these 4 tools that we've laid out that we've got to begin sharpening, that I have to begin sharpening, is a willingness to consistently disappoint people. I said that correctly. It's the willingness to consistently disappoint people. I recently had a chance to sit in on a virtual interview with New York Times bestselling author John Eldredge. He wrote Wild at Heart, a recent book that he put out, Get Your Life Back. And this statement that he said sobered me. He said, I routinely disappoint people. He didn't mean that he volitionally disappoints people. He doesn't mean to do it. But he's become a person to where his name is known, so people think they have access to him, and they reach out to him, and he cannot get back to them simply because he doesn't have the time nor the capacity to handle that. And so he routinely disappoints people. Over the last couple of years, I've found myself slower to respond to email and realized that I have not the capacity to shuffle all of life's multiple communication channels on demand. So I've allowed myself the grace to detach from the superhuman expectation, freeing me up to do the work that matters most. Yeah, I get jabbed for it. I get made fun of a little bit every now and then, but it's a small price to pay for the extraordinary upside, and that is the ability to be able to better be a servant to the mission that we've been called to help liberate you from the chaos of working in your business. The final tool in this tool belt that is in desperate need of sharpening is the tool of the long view. We're starting to hear of public corporations laying out a new mindset to their shareholders in favor of long-term health in contrast to short-term returns. It's unreasonable to ask a toddler to return the product of an adolescent. They're a toddler. But we can't help ourselves. We want to get there so fast. We're enamored by the sugary diet of fast starts and never-seen-before successes. And we enjoy the sugar high today. And we do our very best to divest by the time the sugar crash sets in. It's 2020. May we take up the challenge of the 54th Regiment. May we begin to sharpen our leadership tools and lead. Why? Because we need you to lead. As always, you can join us on our YouTube channel. Go to Facebook at My Business on Purpose. You can connect with me on LinkedIn, Scott Beebe. And make sure to join us at bopwebinar.com in a couple of weeks. We'll help you to understand how to stop putting out fires. Until then, let's go sharpen the tools. Thanks for joining me.